Hi everyone, it's Dexter from A2K, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Top 3 AutoCAD Productivity Add-ins from Autodesk App Store. Technical consultant David Gerber will be our presenter for today. Before we start, we'll just go through about A2K. We're all about fostering innovation through consulting and training. A2K Technologies plays a vital role in helping infrastructure, building, mining, construction, architecture, and manufacturing industries reach their full potential by delivering complete technology solutions and support services such as education and consulting. We're working with visionaries to shape the future of design and in turn enable them through innovation to minimize risks, improve productivities, and achieve excellence. AutoCAD Technologies is considered the business partner of choice and trusted advisor by vendors and clients. We partner with major software and hardware vendors to meet our clients' technology needs. We strive to exceed client expectations by understanding the challenges and delivering solutions through experience and innovation. We work with clients and companies of any size nationally and abroad. Over to you, David.
Thanks for that, Dexter. Okay, so today we're going to talk about kind of the top 10 free AutoCAD, and I also added a couple extras just in case we're dealing with different fields. So we'll talk about a few for drafting. We'll also look at some automation, some efficiency, some nice to haves, and then just the extras that I kind of mentioned. So the first one that's pretty handy is the grid line tool. So we can actually use this to just automatically label our grids. And it's pretty handy just because there's just these easy to follow command line prompts. And we can actually specify how long we want that grid line to be. We can specify if we want it to be alphabetical or numeric. And then we can also start to basically cater the circles to the radius that we want it to be, as well as the text height. So as an example here, if we kind of just open it up in CAD, in our add-ins, we can just see this grid line. So we can start to, at the bottom, we can see, so we'll just put A and we can specify its length. If we just press enter and want the default, we can keep that. 35 is the default, so we'll just hit enter for this example. And again, our label height. We can also specify if we want it to be the start or the end or both for where those circles will be. And then it'll just tell us to pick our first point and our second point, and it'll create those grids for us. And we can just continue doing that for as many that we need. And if we hit escape, it'll just basically cancel out of it. And then we could just relaunch it and do the same thing. So we'll just put a 1 instead, and we'll just keep everything the same. So you can just hit enter until it tells you to specify the first point and start to place the lines. It will snap to stuff. So if you just uncheck your snapping, then you can specify to the grids. And just make note of where you are placing your points, because if I extend this one, you'll see that it extends out, and I'll show you why in a second. So just try and keep them to be the same points. You can adjust them, so don't worry about it. It's not set in stone. But if we look at our distances, so those are the 2 points that we picked originally. If we go from the second point up, you'll see it was 250 because that's what we specified. And same with our first point is down by 250. So taking that into account, our second point was up from the C grid line, and you'll see that it's 250. So that's why we can just move this down though to match everything else and move that line down as well. So they are separate entities, so you can adjust them if you need to. Our next one is multiple offset. So it's a lot easier to use and a bit more friendly than the offset at the moment. So instead of doing the offset command, typing in your number, pressing enter, or typing in it again, and then specifying another distance, we can actually right away, we'll have a little dialog box where we can specify those multiple distances. And we can actually pick multiple objects or just singular ones, and then we can specify where we want it inside or outside. So I find this useful when I'm dealing with, maybe I'm doing trimming on windows or basically just for like details. It's just a lot easier. So as an example, if I'll just quickly draw like a few shapes. So like a rectangle, and then a circle. And a polyline. And we could just use MOF for multiple offset, or it will be in our add-ins tab. So right here, we can specify the distances that we want it to be on. We can also select which layer we want it to be on. And then for this example, we'll just do object first. And you can see as I start to move my mouse, we can offset it outside or inside. And we can also pick objects. So I can pick the square and the circle, and it'll offset them right away. We can also work with the negatives. So we could just clear that list and work in the negatives, which would be, if it's enclosed, then it'll go inside. But you'll notice that once I do actually select the polyline, it'll actually get a bit confused. So just something to note. So it kind of just overlapped our other one that we had here. So just keep that in mind. But yeah, it just makes it a lot easier to start to offset stuff. Another handy one is our level set. So basically we can specify a base point that we want it to start calculating values from. And from there on, it will calculate based off of that base point. So this is handy for this kind of, I'll show you kind of like a building section. So just in our add-ins, we can see there's tons of different tools. So go through them if this is something that you find is handy. So we can just specify basically the lines and how it deals with it. So we can specify that symbol, how we want it to be. We can specify the color. Then we can go to the leader. If we want a leader, we can toggle it on. We can change its settings in there as well. And as well as the text, maybe we'll just change the text to 100 just to make it a bit bigger. And we can also deal with the units how we want to, and the precision as well. So maybe we just want 2, and we can do a prefix if we wanted it, or a suffix if we need to. And if we just press OK, it's going to ask us for our base point. So we'll just find where we want it to calculate from. And then we'll just specify here, and then where our level ends. And then just, again, we'll just kind of follow what it tells us. So we're just going to specify the next level, and then where it ends. And then I'll just do one more for an example and just kind of match them up so that they're in line. And I'll just go up 4,000 as an example. And just escaping will cancel out of it. So you'll see that this kind of triangle is a bit too small. So we can actually adjust the properties. So if we just click on that, maybe we want the color to actually be black. And the scale is a bit too small. So let's just up it by a bit. And we can actually specify our own block. So I just made a little elevation triangle block. And then the leader, I kind of wanted there to be a little bit more of a gap. And then maybe the text color, just make it gray. And then let's just move, oh yeah, the text height's a bit too small. And let's just move that away from the triangle basically, so negative 100. So as soon as we click OK, you'll see that it adjusts it. So very quickly, and again, if that doesn't work for you, then you can adjust it again. Maybe the text is a little bit too big, but it is smart data now. So as we start to move this down, you'll see that it recalculates our numbers. So we don't have to worry about calculating that anymore. And if we did want to, we can also move this leader line. Maybe I'll just untoggle that, and you can just move it accordingly to where you need it. So this can be done with attributed data, but this is just a lot faster basically. And then all you have to do is just move where that point is that it's referencing, and it'll recalculate the totals for you guys. The next one is drawing purge. So yes, purge is put into CAD by default, but this one kind of just gives you a window and just gives you a lot more ways of purging it and just catering it to your liking. So we can automatically purge without actually having to specify, like, yes, we want to purge this certain thing, or no. And then when it asks you, like, do you want to check the names of each thing, then yeah, basically there's just a lot of steps to go through. So this just expedites that. And another good thing is that we can actually batch purge multiple files or even folders. So we can start to basically purge and prepare files for the office. Maybe we're getting it from an external party, and we could just set it up to how we like it. So as an example, we can type in purge, and you'll see that it is there if you do like to type. But again, for those that like to click, it is in the add-ons as well. So if we just press purge, it'll do the typical purge, and you'll see that what it's done. But we'll just use the batch purge just to show you the power of it. So in here, we can start to select the files or select the folders. So I'll just quickly select these two and put them in, and you can kind of see their status. And basically, yeah. So again, we can select the folder if we wanted to, but we can see that they're not purged. We can see their version, and then we can start to tweak it. So if we just go into our settings, we can say if we want to save the drawings or not. We can replace it. We can add a suffix if we want to. We can even change the version if we need to. And we can actually save it to a different folder. So maybe we have a purged folder, for example. So we can just click here and just create a folder and put that in. We can also start to pick and choose if we want, like what we want to purge, or if we want to purge it all. And then in our drawing purge settings, if there are XREFs, we can tell it how we want them to deal with it. Sometimes there's also DGN data that we get from other consultants, so you can deal with it there. If there are any XREFs, they will be listed here. And then some additional tools. So basically we can enable them. And if we want, we can actually change it to always open in model space and actually zoom to extends. We don't know where they're saving it, right? And we don't know what units they're saving it in. So we can change that. We can set it to 0 if we want to. And if you do have settings in your office that you use for system variables, you can also change those as well. So there's a lot that you can do. And lastly, if you did want it in a different language, it is supported in other languages as well. So once we're happy with all of our settings, we can just go back to our batch purge, purge it. And there you go. So you can see it's purged and saved in the current version, and it's going to tell you everything that it's done basically. So very quickly, we can start to get our drawings prepared. Another one that is very handy, we did, I'm not sure how many were on the other webinars that I ran with, but we did speak about blocks and how they're useful. So this one's very handy in terms of W blocking, because we can actually automatically export multiple blocks or even layers into separate files. So this is handy if we want to reuse them. So instead of copy pasting, they'll basically just be their own DWG that we can store. So it's pretty simple. So we'll just either do auto double block, or it will be in our add-ins again. We can just click on that, and it will find all the blocks that are in that drawing. So we can either just click on that to select them all, or select them individually. We can say where we want them to be saved, and we can also format them to whatever version we need. And then, yeah, there are layers if you want to just export certain layers. And again, it's just a little checkbox that you can do. So let's just go back to our blocks. I'll just select a folder. And then just select them all, and we'll just hit OK. And that's it. Basically, it's done. It's already saved all 3 of them into that purged folder. So very quickly, now we can just reuse them. Or maybe we have like a block library that we want to put it into. So you can, maybe you were assigned to make some blocks. You created that folder, and then you just W blocked it, or auto W blocked it into your drawing one where everyone else in the office is using those. Another one similar to that, but this time it'll be with layouts. So we can actually export multiple layouts into separate files. So these new drawings will be created, and we can actually specify a prefix and suffix if we want to. and it will be saved to that source drawing folder. So wherever that source drawing was that you're exporting from, it'll be there. So if we go back to this one, if we just type in layouts, you'll see that there's two. So there's the DWG, and then it also has one that's bind and purge. So it'll basically just bind all the XREFs and purge stuff. So there is an additional tool in there. For this one, we're just going to use basically just the default one, layouts one. So if we click on that, we can start to specify the prefix. Maybe this is an architecture drawing, so we'll just put AR dash, hit enter, and whatever suffix we want. 001, I'll just add a dash in front of it and hit enter, and then we can doubly block it or save as. So we'll just do save as. And it starts to do them. So if we bring that up, we can see what it's done, and then we can also see where it's put it. So we can see the basically AR conc details. If we have a look at our tab, that's basically what we have here. And then again, the section with our two prefix and suffix. And if we look at our source folder, we have that building section, which is our main file, and the two new ones that were created through this tool. We can then open them up. So it'll bring it to there. And then we still have all the data from the original, which is handy. So again, that one was those details and the original data. So if we look at our original one, it's that section and that conc one. So yeah, it's very easy to send some stuff across if we need to. Building off of attributed data that we kind of touched on in other webinars, there is a tool already in CAD, but this one, if you are editing attributes, this makes it a lot easier. So we can basically just edit multiple attributes within multiple blocks, which is handy. And it's a batch process. It will find the drawings that are using the blocks as well and adjust them as well. So if we open this one up, we can either type it in or use our handy add-ins tab, and it'll be up there. So if we just click on that, we can specify the blocks, or we can actually name them. So I'll just redo them again. You can kind of see the gray, which means they're attributed, and just hit enter. There's duplicate items because I had it. You can just select certain ones if you want that are in there, or you can just select them all. I'll just override what I already had. So in here, we can see all the attributed data that we have. If we double click on it, we can start to change them. So maybe we want this to be drawing number. We'll just say okay. And yeah, basically you can specify and start to edit them a lot easier in here. You can also save this to a file. Maybe you like to work in Excel. So we'll just save it out. Go okay. And open Excel. And in here, it's basically the same thing as we see in CAD. So if we did want to change this, maybe I'll just change this back to, or yeah, you can change any of the settings in there, but we'll just change this one back to D. And we just have to save it. And then we could just minimize that for a bit. And then we'll load the file in, find where it's sitting. And we'll just click open, and you'll see that that D has changed. So it depends on your workflow. You can do it in CAD or there. So if we go to next, you'll see all of the files that are actually using these. And then basically you just have to add it to the right. If you didn't want to adjust it, you can just remove the files. So similar to some other software that you might be used to. So we'll just add that one and we'll click run. You'll see that it'll open that file. It will adjust them. And then basically it'll ask us if we want to discard the changes or not. We'll just say no because we want to keep them, and it'll close that file. So that attribute is adjusted in this current drawing, but also in there. So there is Batman, but you'll notice that it's just one by one. And if we go, we have to go there, edit, change that to what we had before, drawing number, press OK, press apply, then go to the next one and adjust that as well, edit, and so on and so forth. So it just makes it a lot easier to kind of see all of them instead of going block by block. So right away, we just see all of them in one area. Just makes it a lot faster. And it's just, yeah, basically a lot more visually easier to see. These are just some nice to haves. So I basically just like this because it adds the DWG version in the file explorer. So kind of what I mentioned before, like working with external parties, sometimes you don't remember or you don't even know which version they're using of CAD. And this way you don't need to, like maybe you send an email, you send the file and it's the wrong version, then they email you back saying, oh, actually, can you save it down to the 2013 version? So it just kind of eliminates that time, that lag time. So we can right away just have that DWG version in our file explorer. And then we can sort it by CAD version if we want to, just because it's a basic Windows function. And the free version only has the DWG version. I find that's more than enough for me. But if you did need other properties, kind of like how you can see here, there are more available in the full version. So just to quickly show you, all you have to do is just, once it's installed, is just right click, you go to more, and then you'll see all the different types that you can have in your file explorer. We just go down to our DWG. So those are all the actual ones from the full version. And we just click that and you'll see that it puts our DWG version. So whether it be in the file explorer, but it also can be visible within CAD. So again, we'll just add it in CAD so that we can see it. Just scroll down and click it. And because it's basically a Windows operation, we can actually just move it across and put it wherever we need it to be. Maybe we wanted to see it right with the name. Maybe we're working on that file. So right away, we can kind of just see it within. If you don't want it there, we can, again, just get rid of it, just uncheck that. And by default, it will have that little bubble and you can kind of see it says DWG version 2018. So if you want it to be on the side, you can have it there. If not, it will automatically have that little bubble that comes up. Another nice to have is called, and where was that? So basically you can scan a bunch of drawings very quickly and you can specify either the text or even file names that you were looking for. And you can actually open those directly from the little window. The free version is limited to 50 drawings at a time. I don't know if, I guess if you're a bigger company, maybe you might be parsing for bigger files, but I think 50 is pretty good. So just as an example, it's just AWWT if you like to type, or again, in our trusty add-ins folder. And in here, basically we can either specify just files and then just pick them as we need, or we can actually drag and drop folders. So we'll just put these 3 folders in and then just let them scan, press OK. And now we can start to search. So maybe I'm looking for like the 2-way, and right away I can see there's that block that had the 2-way. If I double click, it'll actually open up that block. And it's just basically very handy. We can also search for file names. So maybe we wanted to find something with brick. We can see where it is. And yeah, basically you can type anything. So I'll just show you dimmer, for example. There's 2 different types and 2 different folders. So we can either open it again in CAD, or we can actually open the folder, which is pretty handy. And it'll open up a file explorer and you'll see that it's brought that over for us. So yeah, if you ever think like, oh, I remember I wrote some sort of text in one file, I just can't remember where it was for this client, for example, just throw in a bunch of folders and just start to quickly check it. And then you can find that folder or actually open up that drawing. So a couple of extras. So there is this coins translate one. So basically it helps you not have to use websites or external tools basically for translating text and text attributes or multi-leaders. And it basically just translates directly in CAD. I don't have an example of this just because it's kind of self-explanatory, but if you find that you might need to translate stuff for whatever reason, maybe look into this one. Another extra is our color revision. So basically, if you have to change parts due to a change of state of any sort, you can actually just use this kind of buttons that you get, and you just select your elements and you just click on the button and it'll change it to that color that you specified and that layer that you specified. You can also customize these buttons and states and colors to suit your needs as well. So maybe you don't like new, existing, remove, changed, or maybe you don't like the colors. You can change that to your heart's content. So something to look into as well, if that's some part of your workflow that you guys use. This one's very handy. It's called Easy Viewport. So basically you can create a viewport from your model space into paper space. And basically it's, yeah, you just select it and you just say where you want it to place it and it's done. So you can specify various settings like where you want the base point to be, the scale, which layout you want it to be on, if it's rotated or mirrored. It's very handy. Unfortunately, it's only available for 2017 to 2019 at the moment. I don't know if the developer has plans to develop it further, but I guess you're in luck if you're still using the older versions. But I thought I'd throw it in there anyways, just because it is pretty handy. And lastly, we have Mark. So Mark is basically just to quickly place text within the drawing for part numbers and sizes, but it can also extract a lot of data from blocks. So whether it be the names or various other information. So kind of as you see there, you can kind of see that wall and it'll tell you what type of wall it is. So maybe if you work with parts, that's something to look into because it can quickly tag stuff. So here are all the hyperlinks. You can either screenshot it or I'm happy to copy paste it into the chat if you guys want them. Other than that, if there's any questions, please send them through. Just type them into the Q&As. I see that Zarko wrote one. Can we use eye level in paper space? I haven't tried it, but I can try it. Yeah, I'll quickly do the hyperlinks right now. Let me just find the chat. Let me just get this over for you guys. Okay, that's all the hyperlinks. And I'll just open up CAD quickly. And in the meantime, Diane, yes, you just go to the Autodesk app. So like, for example, if I click on the gridline bit.ly link, you'll see it'll open up. Oh, it went to my other screen. 2 seconds. Maybe I'll just stay on this one. Let me know if you guys can see the screen because I just moved desktops a bit. So yeah, the hyperlink will just basically go to the Autodesk Store. And then you can just download it here. Just move it back to this one. No problem. Zarko, I'll quickly test the paper space. I never tried it in paper space, but I'm assuming it should be. I think it might be the scaling might be the issue though. It's not going to my paper space. I don't know why my CAD is acting up. I can test that for you, though, Zarko, but I have a feeling because it calculates the units, it might be. Oh, my system variable changed. that it might act up a little bit. So you might have to play with that in Paperspace. Vesna, for LT, unfortunately, plugins aren't available, so you won't be able to do it in LT. But for the full version, yes, you can do that. And Ian asked a similar question. So I'll play around with it in Paperspace and I'll have a look. And yes, Vesna, the presentation will be uploaded to YouTube, and then you can watch the replay there. And pass the link accordingly. So that was just this one here. So if you just go to YouTube and you type in A2K Technologies, you'll see that all of our videos and like all of our webinars are recorded, and Dexter will be placing them on here. So if you did miss any of the other ones, have a look here. And then within a few days, this one will be up as well. And then you can just easily pass that to your team and just use it as a reference. See if there's any other questions that come through. I'll just put Ian and Zarko. I'll make sure to email you guys about the dimensions in Paperspace.